This game is my absolute favorite drifting simulator, and I feel like it's not even well known enough for it being a good drifting game. So I've spent years of my time playing BeamNG being absolutely trash at drifting, spinning out, hitting walls. But I've figured it out now, and so you don't have to make the same mistakes. I'm putting together this quick little tuning guide so you can pick up some good stuff about the easiest cars to learn drifting in, and the easiest or first upgrades that you should do for building your own drift setups and copying these ones. Make sure, once you've updated to this new version, I think it's 0.26, that you head into your settings. If you have oversteer reduction assistant and understeer reduction assistant, it's just going to feel a bit strange to drive, and I don't think it makes drifting easier. I turned off all of these things because I just don't want them messing with me, and especially oversteer reduction assistant, because who needs that? Right, now we got that out of the way. I've got an array of cars here which I think are the best for drifting. Maybe not this one, but we'll talk about it. Obviously people want to drift in BeamNG. We've got these drift configs like this one for the Pessima. I want to make this video though because I don't think they're very good, or at the very least they're really hard to drive. So if you've got a 200BX LS, it's already an okay drift car. Which, yeah, this won't be a drifting tutorial, but more so just about the parts I use for cars. Alright, let's get to upgrading. So, a mistake that I always used to make is always going for the turbo. It's, you know, it's gonna take a lot of self-restraint, I know. We love a bit of more power, baby. But, upgrade engine last always. Alright, the absolute first upgrades you should do when setting up a car to slide around that's going to be a little bit low power is go for either the limited slip, which this already has with the LS model, or just go straight for the welded. Now what that's going to do, as you might know, make sure the inside and outside wheel spin at the same speed, so if I'm turning tight you can see it scrubbing a little bit, and that's going to let you slide a bit easier and transition more predictably. Next thing, definitely go for either quick ratio steering or the drift steering. Obviously drift steering is going to be good for drifting, but on some cars you may find it's a bit too aggressive if you're going for a more stock setup, and it's going to be a bit less smooth, but generally it's going to be easier because you're going to get more angle, and it'll pull the car around a bit more, and help you not spin out. If you want to change your wheels for customization, I recommend going for something similar to what it's already running stock if it's a car like this that's already quite well planted and sport orientated. And in terms of tires, I'd always recommend sport tires, because even though there's drift tires in this game, I think the added slipperiness isn't actually helpful in drifting. Now, this car should now be basically unspin-outable. So if you can get to drifting and at least solve the problem of spinning out too much, then I think this engine is smooth enough that you can add a stage 1 turbocharger. Now this right here is like the trifecta of upgrades for a really smooth first drift car. But it's still going to take some skill. Yeah, can control that angle extremely easily. Also, I know this isn't a drift tutorial video, but common mistake, make sure you power out of your corners until you straighten the car out. If you let off, it will just look like those Mustang driver crashing videos where you'll snap back the other way and hit the curb. You correct it, and then, let off the gas, you're back the other side. Also, we'll save these as we go and bring them to the track later. Call it the trifecta. We got the limited slip, the steering, and the turbo. Alright, we'll put this away, and let's get to work on this one next. Alright, this one here, the big V8 boys, my Americans out here. Let me just check which configuration this is. Okay, I believe this is the Road Sport Package M291 V8. This car's engine is really good, even if you're not good at driving manual or selecting a gear yet. You can focus on your steering because it's got long enough gears that you can get up to whatever speed you need in first or second, but it's also got enough torque with this V8 with no supercharger, no turbo or anything, that you're less likely to bog down and you'll be able to have enough power to keep it sliding. Because it has these extremely skinny tires that look like the 70s, it's going to be extremely easy to get it sliding. I'm doing this with one hand right now. I should put on my wheel here. Ran out of angle. I guess that shows one of the good ways when you're building your own drift cars. You want to drive it around for a bit, see what it's like, see what needs fixing. As we can see, there is not quite enough steering angle. I've just got to find the front suspension. There we are. Steering. This one has a steering box. So we'll switch that to a drift steering box. Also, I wouldn't recommend power steering. It gets rid of some of the feel. The Barstow with wide angle steering, #1 spot. Or easiest drift car with no upgrades, barely. In fact, I might take it for a spin through the tunnel. What you'll find with a car like this versus, say, a 200BX, while it's a bit more sloppy, you're going to have a lot more relaxed time just swinging it around and getting a feel of your counter steering. Oh dear. A downside of this car is it's going to change the handling a lot if you want to get the wheels looking a bit more normal. And get fitment going on while still maintaining really easy handling. We could try a welded differential. It might be too slippery. We'll give it a go. It's much smoother to transition. You don't get the slight lump between left and right. Oh, perfect auto. Totally meant to do that. Now, the downside of a car like this that's really rolly is going to be the understeer. If you don't quite get into a corner, you're going to be pushing that front wheel along and possibly plow straight into the curb, which is not going to be as good of a time. But we'll save this config. Easy toot car. Alright, this last car right here, this one's going to need a bit more work if you want to drift it. But all these standard configs except the drift missile, which is, by the way, really hard to drive, are automatic. So if you, for some reason, wanted to drive it automatic, this is the one. If you can barely drive. Also, you can see this open differential is only spinning one tire. But this is just an extremely slippery car, and it's very slow moving because of extremely long wheelbase. And also floppy suspension. But definite potential if we put in a 5-speed Manny, put in a welded diff, and perhaps we'll even give it a sport intake. I forgot the steering. Yeah, it only just has enough angle. Let's put the drift steering in. One thing that's important to remember if you're changing wheels, how that's going to affect the grip. Do you want to change the tires first, then test it? Or do you want to run the same tire compound on some wider wheels to increase your grip? This car has some pretty large wheels, and most of the performance wheels look a bit too small on this car. So I'm going to just upgrade the tires and see how that does. Alright, that was a waste of time. Couldn't find any decent wheels, so I'm just going to go with the upgrades I have. That's the manual, sport intake, welded diff, steering. So yeah, the main good features that make this a good beginner drift car... Oh, that's so smooth, by the way. Jeez, that's really nice. Okay, this is now actually one of my favorites out of the bunch. That's just really smooth, wow. And it doesn't even have power steering. Okay, that's extremely predictable as well, even with stock suspension. Benefits of cars like this: we've got front engine rear-wheel drive, nice balanced layout for drifting. We've got a V8 that is non-turbo, non-supercharged, so it puts down power very smoothly. And consistent power band, so you can be in whatever gear and it will still have enough power to initiate. You won't be stalling out like you might be in a turbo car if you're still learning. With just some basic handling upgrades, even if it is a big old burgundy slab. Very nearly hit that pole. See how I'm transferring the drifters there using the roll of the car? If I had some real rock-solid race suspension, it would have just straightened out, and I wouldn't have that benefit there. This might have a little bit more power than the Barstow, I think, because I'm getting just enough to slide around here. Maybe not. Also, if you do start understeering like that, you can just give it a little bit of accelerator and it should help you correct that. If you hit plowing like that, against it, turn the understeer into oversteer. Nice, alright, let's save that one. Alright, so while those are the easiest ways to upgrade some of the easiest drift cars, once you start upgrading your car a little bit more, alongside your skill level preferably, I have a list of some other stuff to take note of when tuning your cars. So if you want to build drift cars out of other cars, such as the Pessima and Sunburst, because they come with front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive configurations, they're going to handle really weird once you rear-wheel drive swap them, which you can. I also made a Bruckle Legrand drift car, which I believe used a few mods to make that work. I've seriously spent like 3 days of BeamNG sessions working on this car, and it still drives kind of weird. So bear in mind, that's going to be a little bit weird if it's not meant to be a rear-wheel drive car. In terms of what I was talking about earlier about rear tires and front tires, having wider rear tires are going to mean that the car is less likely to spin out because of too much power. But it also is going to mean it's slower to transition because it's going to want to... So when you swing a drift from left and then you go straight and out to right, it's going to want to grab and grip in the middle part there. Once you start upgrading your engine's power, you may want to go from a welded diff to a limited slip diff. Also, if you've got upgraded suspension and that's a bit stiffer and therefore isn't going to roll as much before the wheel slides, generally never open diff, just because they suck. My favorite tire compound, let's see, this car right here, uses drift tire. I hate them. My favorite tire compound on most cars and most wheels that actually look good are the sport tires. I wouldn't recommend like race sway bars or any of these like they've done on this stock drift setup in the game. I don't like how it makes the car handle for drifting. And just finally, the main one overall, always do handling upgrades before engine upgrades. Always do your body customization and painstaking body kits and wheel selection last, because it can be a waste of time once you've got a great looking car and you don't love how it drives. The most important thing though, you're gonna have to practice the drifting, and I may make a video that is how to drift, and hopefully it comes out better than this does. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about these. If this goes well, expect to see more BeamNG and other sim racing videos and stuff in future, because I do a lot, but I never speak about it on the channel. But it is something I'm into, and hopefully I have enough expertise in the old brain to teach somebody something and help you have a bit more fun in your sliding. Righto, I hope you found this helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and peace out.